Today's guest is a fresh-faced family man whose life was completely derailed by addiction. He's taken the pain of addiction and turned it into purpose. From Harry Beattie to Ice Bath Harry, his story is one of resilience, reinvention, and remarkable change.
Hi, I'm Harry, and this is day 468 of taking an ice bath every single day to help me stay clean and serene, living free from active addiction.
And my mum left when I was 4 years old, so I was raised by my dad and whatever girlfriend he had at the time. Financially I was looked after, but emotionally and spiritually the love and the nurture just wasn't there.
And tell me about starting to use.
I found Charlie. My gosh, I loved it. It was like getting a warm hug from my mother who was never there. I found an escape and I felt safe in there because I wasn't having to deal with my actual reality. But there were times where I would stay awake for 4 or 5 days, just pure.
What sort of paranoia were you getting at that point?
I was really tripping. What changed for me 409 days ago, I started doing it for me. If I don't put myself first, I'm no good to anyone.
I don't know how I'm still 409 days clean today, but I've still got a lot of stuff that I need to work through.
Elliott Wald, addiction specialist. Come clean with me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Coming Clean with Me. My name's Elliott Wald and today's guest is a fresh-faced family man whose life was completely derailed by addiction. With his partner pregnant and his use spiralling out of control, he knew something had to change. That moment became the turning point that led him to break free. Today, he proudly celebrates 409 days clean. But his journey didn't stop there. He's taken the pain of addiction and turned it into purpose, launching his own business and transforming his life. From Harry Beattie to Ice Bath Harry. His story is one of resilience, reinvention, and remarkable change. Welcome, Harry.
What an introduction that was.
There you go. Did I build you up enough?
Yeah, you did. I wasn't expecting that.
There you go. Hey, it's good to meet you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you being a guest today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's dive straight in. Tell me about growing up for you, what it was like.
So I grew up relatively privileged, I'd like to say. My dad was in sales and he worked extremely long hours and extremely hard. And he wasn't at home much. He was usually on the road travelling, selling what he was selling, printing ink. He was selling to commercial printers. And yeah, I grew up in a big four-bedroom house with a swimming pool in the garden. I had an au pair looking after me most of the time. I was put through private education. And my mum left when I was 4 years old. So I was raised by my dad and whatever girlfriend he had at the time as I was growing up. You know, he had lots of different women in and out of his life. And yeah, I had a pretty good upbringing, I like to think. It's only in recent times where I've looked back and sort of dug deeper into that and into the trauma that's sort of driven the addiction problems that I've had over the years that I've gained an understanding of actually it wasn't all that. From the outside it looked good, yeah. Big house, swimming pool, had all I wanted, drum kit, guitar. If I wanted to play ice hockey, I got the new, latest ice skates. If I wanted to play cricket or rugby, I got all the kit. But so financially, I was looked after, but emotionally and spiritually, the love and the nurture just it wasn't there. So, and I do believe that has played a big part in what was to come.
You said to me when we spoke prior to today's interview that you had good education, but you were thrown out of a number of schools.
I was.
What do you put that down to?
So I believe now I was labelled naughty rather than shown the extra support that I felt I might benefited from. And yeah, I've got ADHD and I'm actually on the waiting list. I haven't been diagnosed. I've self-diagnosed.
Okay.
So I'm undiagnosed, but all the signs are there, yeah, big time. And I think I was very similar when I was younger. I was very hyper. I was always fighting for people's approval, always, trying to get everyone's attention. And I think had I been shown a little bit more love and nurture from even teachers at school and maybe been a bit more understood, I might not have been labelled naughty. I might not have then been punished. And then I might not have then rebelled even more because I felt like that affected me. My school journey, even like early years, sort of year 5, year 6, junior school, year 7, I got expelled from a private school in year 7, or the junior school kicked me out as well. But listen to this school was so posh, they didn't want on their records that they had to expel a child, because they didn't want it to come back around for someone to say, well, how did they get through? How did they get into the school? Yeah, there was this posh school up in Waterlooville at the back of Horndean. The colours of the uniform were the Wimbledon colours, which was chosen by the parents. It was that kind of school.
Right.
Somewhere where I had no fucking place to be. And yeah, they literally made me stand outside the office for hours with a dunce cap on, and I was ridiculed and I was bullied. And then anyway, halfway through year 6, they booted me out. I did a little bit at a state school, got bullied even worse. And then I went to a secondary school, and yeah, that junior school, they asked me to leave. They asked my dad to take him out. I said, look, can you take him out? Because we don't want to expel him, but he's going to do something else, and we're going to have to expel him, and we don't want it on our record. So it took me out of there. And yeah, I just feel like had I have been more understood, I might not have acted the way I acted. The rebellious side of me. If it says wet paint, don't touch, I've got to find out. Well, I still do now sometimes. And I want to know when the sign was put there. And I want to know how wet it really is and how many coats were put on it. Yeah, and what colour it was. And
So it sounds like to me, not only was it ADHD, but your dad was a very strong character, successful
yeah.
financially,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit emotionally vacant.
Yeah, he was in the SAS back in the 60s.
Wow, tell me about that.
I can only tell you, well, I don't know how far I can go with this, but some of the stories that I've heard from some of the stuff that happened back then, yeah, it doesn't happen these days, put it that way. And yeah, growing up with a father who was an SAS reservist, albeit 20 years before, he was still, in the regiment, 2-1 SAS. And I was brought up, men don't cry, yeah? Stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. And yeah, that's kind of how I sort of grew up. I was never really, I never felt like I could show my true emotions. And it's only now that I understand that anger, for me, is a secondary emotion for my sadness. But what I've, developed over these last months, years, whilst working on myself, is I'm able to quickly identify which is which. And if I do find myself getting frustrated or angry or quick to go, what's going on, it's often because actually I feel really sad inside and I feel hurt. And I struggle to express that. So I'm just working on trying to be true to myself.
You find it difficult to address your emotions.
Yeah, I think I do.
You've always bottled them up.
Yeah, big time. And then I explode and everything just goes to shit.
Was that what it was like growing up?
Yeah, and in later life. Growing up, I was just a big ball of energy. Just, I now know I was just looking for attention. I was seeking approval. And I still sometimes do it now. If I say something and you don't react the way I think I think you're going to react, I say the punchline twice to sort of like get, approve,
It's interesting because when you find a child with ADHD, there's usually one or more parents not far behind it.
Mm.
And I'm wondering whether how your dad was or how your dad behaved, and whether that was outside of his own control, and how that affected you, perhaps.
So it's not actually my dad that I get that from. It's my mum.
Ah, there you go.
Who left. And yeah, my old man's, he's a good guy, and he did the best he could with the tools he had. He didn't do a bad job, but he was very busy, building his empire, if you like, working hard. But growing up, for me, I witnessed a few bits that kids shouldn't witness. I come home from school and he'd be trading the stock market. I was like 14, 15, and there'd be 3 screens with, the Dow Jones and the FTSE 100, and he's trading, going, look how much money I've made, look. And there'd be two women in the garden in the pool with their breasts out, and I'm thinking, like, this ain't normal. Yeah, and I used to nick his cigarettes and drink the beers from the fridge, and it's a learned behaviour, isn't it, I guess. And when I was sort of 14, 15, 16, I was out drinking in the parks and stuff. But I don't think that those behaviours in me, the ADHD and the sort of obsessive compulsive style behaviours, that doesn't come from my dad. A little bit does, but majority of it comes from my mum.
And what about the risk-taking behaviour?
Yeah, I loved taking risks. I was all about danger.
Who do you think you got that from?
Probably my old man. The stories he used to tell me, jumping out of the Hercules. And
to be a risk-taker, do you think that makes you impulsive?
Very much so, yeah.
And people who are impulsive usually have
lack of control when it comes to drugs and alcohol?
Because they have the thing that you think your mum has, that you think you got it from.
ADHD.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, classic impulse control, classic risk-taking behavior is your dad. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was an underlying part and having it with your mum as well, which can make it so strong in you. What part of ADHD do you feel pushed you toward your risk-taking behaviors?
Early on or now?
Yeah, early on.
Early on. I'm gonna have to dig deep here, I reckon. I think it all kind of falls in together, doesn't it? So the ADHD that was undiagnosed, because back then, I'm 33 now, yeah? So back in like the early 2000s when I was in school with what I, believe to now be ADHD, it wasn't really talked about. You were just literally labelled naughty. And I think that kind of all comes under the same umbrella, doesn't it? The ADHD would lead to the risk taking, which would come back under to the seeking approval.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fighting for everyone's approval, fighting to make people proud, and look at me. And I spent years doing that, early adulthood and into my early 20s. I was shouting from the rooftops how great I was because I wanted you to see who I didn't see. Does that make sense? Because I was so insecure, I needed everyone else to tell me how great I was.
No, I
So I'd make sure you knew about it. When I walked in a room, I was a big ball of, hello everyone. I was just, and that's it is me, definitely me. But I don't need to do that anymore. The ego's slowly, settling in.
It's interesting because ADHD patients are great to work with. I have many, many of my people with addictions who have ADHD, and they're bright, funny, determined, hardworking. So when people look at ADHD as a negative, there are a lot of positive aspects within that.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes you more of a go-getter.
Absolutely. High achievers, addiction, ADHD. I find people with ADHD are very, if they get focused on something, there is also a downside to that though, because over the years, as I mentioned earlier, ice hockey, rugby, cricket, I did all these different things, guitar lessons, I played the drums. I know a little about a lot of things, and I've got what I call the ADHD graveyard. Yeah, I'll focus on something. Yeah, the other day I thought I'll set a podcast up. I bought all the equipment, got everything all organised, and then 2 weeks later I lost interest, and I was like, oh fuck, I'll come back to that, and I found something else to keep me going. So there's lots of things that I've tried over the years, but right now, what I'm doing online with my ice bath stuff, is something that I've stuck to. This is the longest I've stuck to anything. Don't know what's keeping me going. I'm sure that we'll get there, but what I'm doing is working for me now, and I'm still a work in progress. I know that. I'm far from cured. I'm far from recovered. I don't know if I'll ever be cured or ever be recovered. But I'm just trying to not harm anyone anymore. And I feel like what I'm doing now is working.
Cool. Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of your addiction and your introduction to it. Talk me through that.
So I used to be a big gamer. I used to play Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, games like that. And there was days when I wasn't at school, obviously, because I got kicked out. I'd just sit at home and eat pizza and eat crisps and drink energy drinks and play games for hours and hours and hours on end. And I never knew it back then, but it was very compulsive, and no one was there to sort of stop me because my dad was busy with what he was doing or whatever it was he was doing at that time, and I was just playing games all day. And even with the lads, we'd be playing for like 6, 7, 8 hours, and they say, right, that's me done, and I say, oh, come on, one more game. And I believe that gaming was my first addiction because I found within that video game an escape, a reality, and I felt safe in there because I wasn't having to deal with my actual reality. And then when the gaming wore off, I found other things. Women, drugs, drinking, gambling.
What age are you at this point?
So I started drinking and playing around with women at about 13, 14, smoking my dad's cigarettes out the window of my big 4-bedroom house. I used to hang out the window. I remember one night I hung out the window. I've got a sister, by the way, who's 3 years older than me. And I remember, because we're quite different. We're similar but different. And I remember one night I was hanging out my window, and as I looked out the corner, she was hanging out her window. And we both had a fight. Went, shh, don't tell Dad. Yeah. So she had a bit of rebellious, but she kind of straightened out. She's doing really well, my sister. She's got 2 beautiful boys, and life's good. And she has a relationship with my mum, and I still don't at the moment, but we'll get to that. So yeah, gaming, and then when I got to 13, 14, 15, we were, standing outside the shop. Can you go in and get me a pack of 10 Sovereign, mate? Can you get me 4 beers or a crate of beer or some White Lightning? Yeah, some cider or whatever. And yeah, I was drinking, getting pissed in the park, getting picked up by the police. They'd come down, they'd empty the cans out, I'd say go home, and we were like, it was just antisocial behaviour.
Kids with nothing to do.
Yeah, and I had nothing. Well, you'd think, I should be like in a tennis club or something. And what, I was over here in this lovely little house with my family, and all I wanted to do was play over here with the naughty kids in the flats, and
You were rebellious.
very rebellious.
And tell me about starting to use, we're going to refer to it as the packet.
The Charlie. So I think I first snorted any substances when I was about 16, 17, I want to say.
Okay.
So I went from women to drinking, 14, 15, 16. By the time I was 16, or 15, 16, I was smoking that brown stuff you used to smoke.
Ash.
Yeah, whatever that is. You used
Solid.
to leave little holes in your tracky bottoms. Do you remember that?
Little cherry drops.
Yeah, is that what they call it? Hot rocks or something they called it.
I'm not sure what they
Yeah.
call
Anyway, I used to have loads of holes. And my dad just go, "Where'd you get them?" And I go, "I don't know."
Cherry burns.
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, I was doing that, and then I found Charlie, the white stuff, and my gosh, I loved it.
At what age?
17, maybe 16, 17.
And you loved it because?
It made me feel safe.
And
It was like getting a warm hug from my mother, who was never there, and I felt alive. I thought, this is fucking amazing. I finally feel, I don't know, I just felt at home. I felt safe. It was really, really weird. It was a friend of mine. I know exactly who it is. I'm not going to mention him, and he's not very well still now. And I'm just trying to lead the way, like I say, and show people that it is possible. And if I can do it, because I actually used to look at him, my mate, I won't mention him. I used to look at him and think, fuck that. I'd hate to get that bad. And then, a couple of years ago, I was like, he was looking at me like, fucking no, Harry's unwell. And here I am now, 409 days clean. I just hope that he sort of sees what I'm doing, because I do care about him, even though he's very unwell and he's acting the way he's acting. But yeah, he was the first person ever. And every time we used to meet up, from then onwards, from the first time I took it, I thought, this is great. From then on, moving forward, every time we meet up, he'd go, and I was like, I used to get really excited. And that feeling actually used to continue, and that continued for years, even up until recently, before I got clean, yeah. In the latter stages, I felt like I was more addicted and more excited about the chase and the buzz of trying to meet the dealer, get the cash, how long, mate? Yeah, all that sort of stuff. I feel like I was addicted to the buzz of that more than actually doing it, strangely.
there's nothing strange about that.
Is there not?
No.
Okay.
So let's just analyze what you just said.
Okay.
When I used, I felt normal. That's what you said.
Yeah.
And I felt safe.
Yeah, I did.
And then we refer back to the classic ADHD. So here's the difference. Somebody with ADHD, when they use nasal ingestion, if you know what, or Charlie, or the packet, they are already not producing that much dopamine in their system.
No.
Not only are they not only producing not much dopamine, but the transmission speed of the dopamine that you produce, in other words, the speed in which it goes across the neural pathways of your brain, runs very slowly.
Okay.
When you suddenly introduce the packet into it, you get a huge level of dopamine, right?
Correct. Yes.
That is a neurotransmitter that sends a message to tell your brain that what you just did felt good.
Felt good, made you feel good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, because you didn't produce much ADHD prior to this, because you didn't produce much dopamine prior to this because you have ADHD.
Is that true then? So
Absolutely.
people with ADHD don't produce as much dopamine. Is that why we have that kind
By
of...
far.
I didn't know that.
By far. So people with ADHD produce far less dopamine than somebody normal, right? Not only do they produce far less dopamine, but the speed in which dopamine moves through the brain's network is much slower.
That makes sense.
So now what happens is someone with ADHD, when they do a line of you know what, right, they get a huge surge of dopamine. But for someone with ADHD, it's going to slow down the chaos that's in their brain initially.
Exactly what it used to do, Elliot.
Now, there's a reason.
Okay.
The reason is you didn't produce sufficient dopamine or move at the sufficient speed. You've now had a surge of dopamine, and the first 2-3 lines will counterbalance the dopamine you don't normally produce, which means everything now seems to slow down and fit into a pattern. You become more methodical.
Yeah.
You can work things out. You can work more clearly.
Yeah.
Things seem more rational, right? And that's what initially happens. That's classic ADHD.
Okay.
The problem is this. Once you've started doing that, okay, first of all, the dopamine that you get when you've done a line is a huge quantity, more than your brain, more than your synaptic cleft can deal with at any one time.
Right.
In order to compensate for that, it's going to turn down the receptors in your brain that produce dopamine.
Okay.
Now, for somebody who has ADHD, who's already producing a small quantity at a slow speed, this is just, oh my gosh, because you're already producing a small quantity of dopamine, it's now going to turn down your own dopamine production even less.
Yes.
So when you finish that evening, your dopamine receptors don't suddenly turn back up.
No.
And every time you use, they get turned down more and more.
Okay.
For someone with ADHD who already has,
Low dopamine.
this is just a
Yeah.
nightmare. And that's exactly what happens.
You make a lot of sense. You know your stuff. That is exactly how it is and how it was. And that leads me on to the ice bath stuff. Yeah. That's why I looked into ice bath therapy, because I knew that I was lacking dopamine. Yeah. So when you come off of prolonged use of Charlie and drugs like that, you lack dopamine, natural dopamine.
Yes, you
So
do.
I said, well, hang on, if I'm going to get clean, yeah, I've been smashing myself to bits for the last 10 years. I'm finally going to get clean, yeah. You're telling me for the first year or two, I'm going to feel miserable because I've got no dopamine. I've got no natural dopamine. That's what's going to happen. I said, I'm not happy to live like that. So I was looking for something else to try to adjust those levels. And that's why I started doing my cold plunges.
Very good. So so now you understand how it's really affected you because of your ADHD.
Yes.
So tell me how your addiction progressed, how that carried on.
So I dabbled for maybe a year or two.
How frequently?
Every weekend. It wasn't doing a week. It wasn't doing a day. I'd drink most nights. I'd have a few beers. I lived in this. So we moved out of the house. My old man sold the house that we lived in and moved into a slightly smaller house. And my dad had met his new girlfriend, who he's still with now, and he was staying at her house quite a lot. So I had this like big 4-bedroom house, not as big as the old one. Didn't have a pool. It was terraced.
What age?
Poor me. 19, and I lived in this house pretty much on my own. So my mate, who I won't mention again, the one who got me into it, him and I were just ruthless. We'd be out all the time. We'd be going down to nightclubs, getting drunk, bringing back women, and just having like that party lifestyle. And it was fun. And I could do a couple of keys, I could do a couple of lines, and I was all right. And then I didn't do it for a little bit. I used to meet up with the lads for a few years. So this is a bit of a blur because there's been so much has happened. I then didn't do it for a little bit, but I was still drinking because I was like cross-addicting, which I now know is what it's called, yeah, cross-addicting. I was like, bloody hell, I haven't done that for that long. I'm doing really well. But then I'm, checking my betting accounts the second I wake up, and then I'm drinking every night, so I was swapping one for the other, one substance for the other. So yeah, I dabbled in the gear, the Charlie, for maybe 2 years, and then I started working in sales. Again, what I feel maybe now might have attracted me to that was the risk part.
You're getting it now.
Commission only.
You get it.
Yeah.
You're a risk taker.
Fortune favours the bold. Fortune favours the brave, whatever you want to say. I'll do that again. Fortune favours the bold. And yeah, it's starting to make sense now. This is all coming together. So yeah, I was in sales and I was working hard selling double glazing for a big national company. And it wasn't long before I realised that it was rife in the industry. Yeah. Everyone was doing it, and they offered me it. I was about to go and sit an appointment one evening, and the manager went, "Yeah, mate, snort that," and I did, and I sold that job, full money, and I made about £1,200 commission. I was only in there for an hour, and I thought, "Fuck me, that was good. I might do that again tomorrow," and I did, and then it progressed from there quite rapidly to daily use, drinking.
Within what short period of time?
In the evenings, maybe 6 months. I was doing it every night of the week. Microdosing is what I used to call it. It's a silly sort of terminology, but I was doing like little bits, yeah, little lines, very thin, very small, yeah. Like a cocktail stick, a little bit sort of.
So if you had a 0.4, how many lines you get out of a 0.4 at this point?
That lasted me 3 or 4 days.
So how many lines do you reckon out of a 0.4?
Well, I don't know, maybe 20.
Wow.
out of
Okay.
a 0.4.
Okay.
It didn't end up like that.
No.
But it started off like that. It's progressive, this illness, isn't it? If it's an illness, but you've got a different, maybe.
You can ask me after.
All right, cool. After, why not now?
Well, you can ask me now if you want.
So my, I think it's a progressive one. I think I've got the disease of addiction. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I tried to seek help quite quickly after I knew this was a problem, yeah? So when I was about 21, 22, so about 11 years ago, I sought help. I was like, I'm fucked. I'm snorting this shit all day long, and it's affecting everything. My missus didn't know about it, so I told her. She asked me one night, this is my son's mum, yeah? She asked me one night, because I was doing really well at this job. I was earning lots and lots of money, and over the course of like 3 years, I was probably snorting for about 3 years without anyone knowing. And then it got real bad for about 8 or 9 months, where I was doing it like every day, and I was really struggling to.
And what
to
quantity
function.
are we talking at this point?
At that point, I was waking up in the morning, going to the office at 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, yeah? Bearing in mind how I'd operated before this for the last couple of years was I'd sit at home, I'd ring the office and say, I'm ready for a lead. If you've got one, let me know. They'd phone me about 2 hours later. I'd never needed to go to the office. He gave me the lead over the phone. I'd drive to it. You go in there, I'd sit the job and try and sell the windows. I'd get to the office at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be like, hello, mate. Have you got anything in the safe? And then I'd tick a bit. I'd go upstairs, snort it, and then I'd just sit in the office. So I got a lead for you. I can't go on it. My hands were like that. I was fucked at that point. And it went the opposite way. Yeah, cocaine for Charlie, for me. You can edit this, right?
No edits.
No edits.
Don't worry.
Oh, fuck.
There's no edits. Don't
I
worry.
didn't know that.
This is live.
Charlie.
Raw.
Charlie, you're going to unfollow me now. Charlie, for me, worked the opposite way. At the beginning, it was fun. It was social. And at the end, it wasn't. You can bleep that, can't you? Because that's going to eat me up.
It's fine.
So
Go
I've
on.
got to do it. For me, in the end, it just shut me down. The more I did, and it progressed and progressed and progressed until I was snorting just as big, 0.4 would last me 2 lines, one up my left nostril, one up my right, and I'll just be gone, and for like an hour maybe, and then I'd come back down and be like, I need a bit more of that, and then I'd try and tick a bit more because I had no money. Because at this point, I couldn't sit any jobs because I was so twisted. He gave me a job for a door up the road. I can't go. I'll panic, and I was just it spiraled. So I left that job. I left that company when I worked for another national company to try to get away from it. Within 2 weeks, I was at the manager of of the guy who ran that company's house, snorting gear with him. And I was like, fuck, this stuff's everywhere. I can't get away from it. I then left, worked for a local company. Geezer who owned that company was fucked. And then I set my own company up. And yeah, I had a double glazing company for about 3 years. And I was really unwell. And I was taking deposits from people and struggling to fulfill the work and the order that I'd taken. And there are a few people that I will make amends to when I'm able to. I've kept every single contract of every single job I sold. I sold over 100 jobs across a 3-year period. All jobs all of which that I went out and I got myself. I went out and I knocked doors and I said, I'm Harry and this is what I do. I got a company. We do windows and doors. We're in the area leaving prices. And I was fucked. I was, snorting gear all day long from the second I woke up, snorting drugs to when I went to bed. And this is before rehab. Yeah, I went to rehab 5.5 years ago. This is before rehab. And at the time, I knew I had a problem, and I was still trying to get help. So I was still going to fellowship meetings. I tried hypnotherapy. I tried counselling. I tried therapy. I was trying all these different methods, and none of them were working.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second. What do you think you needed that you didn't get from all of those methods you tried?
I wasn't ready. I was doing it for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
I was going to keep my missus happy. I was going to keep my dad off my back. I was going to keep everyone else happy because they all told me I got this bad problem. I knew I had a problem, but I didn't care about myself enough to want to change. They wanted me to do it, so I started going to meetings for them to keep them happy. And I'm glad I found the fellowship when I did. I went back and forward, in and out for a long, long time. But I just wasn't ready, and I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. And what changed for me 409 days ago is I started to show myself a little bit more love and nurture and start doing it for me. Not because I don't care about my family or my kids now or my missus that I got, yeah? I care about them, of course I do. But if I don't put myself first, they're all fucking, I'm no good to anyone. So that's what's changed, I think. I don't think the hypnotherapy worked because my dad was taking me to my appointments and paying this geezer 50 quid to try and fucking put me to sleep and get me to cry.
50 quid.
50 quid an hour for 40 minutes. And some old
50
hippie, some old
50
hippie.
quid.
50 quid. Well, I'm talking like 10 years ago.
50 quid 10 years ago.
Yeah. Was that cheap then? Yeah. It's a shame he didn't find you. You might have sorted them out.
Let me just answer that. I do not do hypnotherapy.
Do you not?
No.
Hypnosis.
I do hypnosis.
There's a difference.
Here's a difference.
Okay, I don't know that.
So when I deal with somebody's addiction, I deal with psychology, gestalt therapy, EMDR, hypnosis, psychodynamic therapy, linguistic therapy.
So you
I
don't
use, I use a multitude of different therapies.
So you put people into under hypnosis?
Do I put people into under hypnosis? No, I use some hypnotic techniques to change how they think and feel about using.
Okay.
But I don't use it as a singular.
Okay.
I use it alongside others. Let's go back a couple of
Yeah, go on.
steps. You explain how, I mean, yours is classic, Harry, classic. ADHD, started using, slows the chaos. Then look what happened. Your tolerance level went up.
Yes.
Your frequency went up.
Did.
Do you know why?
Because I put up a tolerance, I guess, didn't I?
Do you know why?
No, tell me.
Okay. So no one ever explained. And this is what upsets me about when people go to meetings or they go, how many therapies did you go to?
A few, yeah.
Name them. How many? Give me a number.
6 different types of CBT.
6 different types of therapy. And
Yeah.
no one single person explained to you why this happens.
They might have done.
Why you have ADHD, why it affects you, and what needs to
No,
change.
No.
Straight away, I look at that and I go, it's because people are so uneducated, don't understand, and haven't researched nasal ingestion of you know what or Charlie
yeah.
because they don't understand. But let me explain, this is what happened to you. And anybody else who has ADHD out there, because I think it's a very valid point. So first of all, as I've said a couple of times already today, your amount of your dopamine is being produced is far less. The transmission speed is far lower. And then what happens is this. Once you introduce Charlie into your system,
Yeah.
your prefrontal cortex, which is here,
Yeah.
gets hijacked by the dopamine.
Okay.
Okay. The prefrontal cortex receives far too much dopamine from your first line of Charlie.
Yeah.
It turns down your receptors, I said earlier.
Yeah.
Now you produce far less dopamine. But not only does that happen, okay,
Yeah.
and remember, dopamine is your chemical that tells you that you feel good.
Yes.
Not only does that happen, at the same time, your prefrontal cortex from your usage, okay, reduces down your grey matter. Your grey matter is part of your brain that makes a decision to be rational, to decide, no, it's not clever to use
Yeah, it
that,
changes
which
you.
is already small with ADHD.
Yeah.
Now it's shrunk down even further. The second thing that happens is, right here in the prefrontal cortex, is controlling your impulsivity.
Yes.
People with ADHD are incredibly impulsive.
I have read that, but only in recent times. But you're right, none of these lot have mentioned that.
Not only that, this is what I would tell you. ADHD, Ferrari brains, bicycle brakes. In other words, your ability to say no, because of the fact that you don't have the dopamine produced, is far more difficult to say no because you don't have that control over your impulsivity.
Plus, I like the idea of doing it
because you're risk taking.
Yeah, because I fancy that because that sounds dangerous.
Because you like risk
Which
taking.
I guess does go on to why I sometimes and still now have that thought, creep in of pressing the big red fuck it button. Yeah? Is that linked again, do you think, to that?
Of course, because you are far more impulsive and you are going to continually be impulsive for the rest of your life because the underlying issues, you have ADHD and therefore you produce less dopamine than other people. And therefore you will always be slightly more at risk, which is why 70% of people with ADHD are more likely to have an addiction.
That makes a lot of sense, you know.
I like to make sense, Harry.
Yeah, you do. You make a lot of sense.
So let's carry on, right? So then your usage is spiral. What sort of quantity, frequency are we at this point?
So before rehab, we're talking.
Yeah, before rehab.
So before rehab, I was probably. I was living in a family home owned by my mother. I reluctantly moved in because I knew that moving into one of the houses that she owned came with a level of control and power. I moved into this house. Lovely house. We renovated it. I spent a little bit of money. She spent a little bit of money. She said, in a couple of years, you can buy a bit. I said, okay, cool. I was with my son's mum. This is before my son was even born, yeah, and his older sister, who was my stepdaughter at the time. And I was in that house, and I was snorting every night, probably 2 to 3 grams. Yeah,
Racking it or pinching it or what?
fucking sticking up my ass in the end. My nose was so blocked. I was really unwell, and I was just desperate to get out of my head, because I was in so much pain, mentally and spiritually. I was just lost. And after about a year, my son came around, and his mum said, "You can't be here anymore." You know, there were times when she'd be in the house, in the bedroom, asleep. Kids are upstairs asleep, and I'd be in the front of in the garage, which is connected to the front of the house. You had to go out the driveway and round through the front shutter door. Yeah, I'd turn the power off so you couldn't come in, and I'd be in there, pissing into empty bottles of beer, nostrils on fire. Yeah, the only time I'd open the garage door was slightly ajar manually to give the geezer the money to get the gear. I was sitting there for like 2 or 3 days at a time. She didn't know where I was. She just wondered why the garage wasn't working, and I was in there. Pure paranoia. And then she kicked me out. Said, "You can't be here. You're so."
She found out.
She found out. So she asked me. She said, "Have you ever done drugs?" This is like a couple of years before, yeah. She said, "Have you ever done drugs?" Back when I was working at the national company. She said, "Have you ever done drugs? You know, like with your lads and at the work, at work and whatever." And I said, "Do you want me to be honest with you?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "I've been on it every day for the last 8 months, and I'm on it now." And she went, "What?" She didn't believe me. And then I said, "I've got some in the car." So I went down to the car, got it, came back up and showed her, and she couldn't believe it. She's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, every day I've been doing this shit and I can't stop." And then we that sort of sparked, let's try to get you fixed, because she was a fixer. She wanted to help. She thought, he can't be wanting to do this, surely not, because he's hiding it from me. That tells me that he's not proud of what he's doing, yeah? So she tried to help, and she tried to understand and educate herself on the disease of addiction. And she couldn't help me. I just wasn't ready to accept the help. So I was in and out of meetings. Anyway, we moved into this house with my mum owns. I live there now, actually. But so we moved in there, and after about a year, my little boy was born, Travis, who is back in my life now. I'll tell you about that. She kicked me out, and then I was living in like hotels. I was living in Airbnbs. I was sleeping on mates' sofas. I was just lost, and I was like staying awake at this point for 2, 3, 4. I think the longest I went was like 5 days, just sitting in the car in a lay-by out in the countryside, snorting gear, looking at naughty websites, yeah, gambling, doing anything, because the gear wasn't working. So I was looking at other ways to try to get even more fucked, because I just didn't want to face reality.
To increase your dopamine
Correct.
storage.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to understand now.
You're in hedonism at this point.
This makes sense. What you're saying makes so much sense. And I was paranoid. I'd drive from one spot to another and then hide in the trees, and I'd be in the fucking woods looking around, and I'll pop back to the car and do another line.
And here's the thing, Harry. During all of this period, as you just said, I was having paranoia. I was out the car, get back in the car, do another line. The very thing that gave you paranoia, because it surges dopamine so high that the salience network in your brain attaches fear to your dopamine. In other words, that's what's giving you the paranoia and eventually psychosis.
Yes.
You're continuing to do between your paranoia, you'll continue to do a line. The logic of it is this.
Yeah.
The very thing that gives you the paranoia, you're only stopping to do between having the paranoia.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
You're feeding your whole paranoia by continuing to use.
Of course.
And the more you use, the more dopamine, because that neurotransmitter is telling you to feel good, and you want to feel good.
And I'm coming down at this point. I'm like, I don't want to crash. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to have to deal with the phone calls that I've missed. I don't want to deal with the people that are putting out search parties for me. I don't want to deal with the text that I've had from Hampshire Constabulary saying, if we don't hear from you in the next 3 hours, we're going to put a Facebook post up saying you're fucking missing. Yeah, I don't want any of that. And that's where I got to.
And it's polysubstance, right? You're using more than one thing.
So at that point, I wasn't.
Okay. No alcohol.
No, I was dry sniffing. So I was thinking, because I thought if I get pulled over, I might be able to try and get away with looking like all right, because I was so fucking delusional that I thought if I was pissed, they'd smell it. If I was drinking, they'd smell it on my breath. And you know what I mean? You can smell it. Open the windows. You ever had a drink? So I used to just dry sniff because, yeah.
That's why you hit on a very interesting point, because people go dry sniffing, but actually you hit on a very valid point.
Yeah.
The point is, when people use, and the longer it goes on, I know you started adding alcohol, but generally,
Well, they go hand in hand.
the
don't
longer that people use, the more they stop drinking alcohol.
Do they?
Because if you start using during the day, as you quite rightly said, you can't turn up smelling of alcohol,
Well, no, exactly that.
but you
Sell it-
can
it's
get
not-
away with
yeah.
being a dry
And
sniffer.
I did for years, working with, in the double glazing industry. I couldn't turn up to a customer's house and say, I'm here for the free quote. You're all right there, mate. I could turn up and say, I'm here for your free quote. Yeah. And I'd come in and I'd just put a pop to the toilet quick. Yeah. And they say, make sure you flush. I said, don't worry, cocaine doesn't smell. Done it again.
It's all right. Don't worry.
Charlie doesn't smell. And yeah, so I dry sniffed for a long time. And yeah, I was very isolated. It was very on my own. My disease wanted me on my own, beaten and broken and vulnerable and lost. And that's where I ended up, because I was thrown out of the house. I had a son, a stepdaughter, a fiance at the time. Yeah. She kicked me out. And within a year and a half, I'd lost her, the woman I loved. I lost access to my son, Travis. Stepdaughter, she didn't want to know me, still doesn't. It's something that I'm trying to work on, or might work on at some point. I lost the house, the cars. I was on my own. My driving license got revoked. I was in a hire car under someone else's name, sleeping in Tesco's car park. And the only time I come out of the car park was to meet the Albanians and go back in. Meet the dealer and go back in. And I lived like that for about a year and a half. About a year and a half. But there were times where I would stay awake for 4 or 5 days. No food, no water, just pure gear.
What
That's
sort
it.
of paranoia were you getting at that point?
Oh, fucking hell, man. I was seeing monsters and shadows and shit. I was really tripping. Like, bad. Yeah. I remember one night I was parked on the motorway. I was on the A3 by Butser Hill in Portsmouth, if you know it, Petersfield Way. And there's like a new lay-by there. And I pulled in there because all the cars are going past you, the headlights. And I swear to God, I was in there for like 4 hours looking in the rearview mirror, thinking every car that went past, there's like cars, just general traffic. It's nighttime, yeah? I'm thinking every car that goes past, come in the lay-by. And I'm like, they're coming in. They're not, they're just cars going past. But for 4 hours, I was sitting like that. They're coming in. No one came in.
That's class.
And like, that's not what this drug was sold to me as. And what am I doing? I've got a child. I've got a baby who needs his dad at home. I've got a missus and a stepdaughter who I've looked after for the last 4 or 5 years. And here I am sitting in a lay-by. Just I don't even know how I ended up there, Elliot. I don't. And it's painful talking about it, because I didn't really want to be doing that. But at the time, I felt like it was my only option. And it fucking robbed me of everything. And that was just the beginning. That's before I went to rehab.
You said this was not what was sold to me. What was sold to you?
What you see in the movies. Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, the movies where everyone's, right, guys, come on, let's go. Out on the boats, Miami, and,
You had that, though, for the first 6 months.
Yeah, but is that what they don't show the next 6 months in the movies, do they? Or the next 10 years or the next 20 years? Because some people don't get this till they're 40, 50. I'm lucky. I'm grateful that I managed to get the message. I feel like I have got the message now. One day at a time, I plan to keep doing what I'm doing and staying clean, yeah? I don't know if I'll ever use again. I can't say.
What's been your most challenging thing to deal with? Or challenging moments or challenging time?
In recent times?
Well, in recovery now. You're clean, yeah.
I'm clean now. Do you want to know about rehab? And when I come out?
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you about that?
Go for it.
So I came out of I went into rehab, after being lost. My dad finally found me a flat.
Hang on, you got to a low point before rehab, clearly.
Yeah, very low.
Okay, so tell me about that,
car,
and then let's go to the rehab.
Desperate, in the car, completely just felt abandoned. Felt abandoned and rejected, like I felt when I was a kid when my mum fucking left me. That's how I felt, really. And I never said that before until today. And
That's kind of how I feel at the moment, because I'm not speaking to her. And I was really, really lonely back then. And I can still feel like that now. And I was just desperate for someone to help me. And people were trying to help me, but for some reason I just wouldn't accept the help, even though I desperately wanted it. And my dad found me a place to live. And I moved in there and I was running my business, going about my business, still using, I'd go a couple of days without using, then I'd use again, then I'd go a couple more days. I was a couple of days on, couple of days off, and then I begged my dad. I said, Dad, I really need help. I need medical assistance. I need intervention. I need professional help to help me understand what it is I'm suffering from and why I keep doing this. Because at this point, I'm using against my will. And my dad put me in rehab. It was 11 grand for 28 days. It was in Essex. And I put my business on hold. I was so fearful. I set that business up on ego, by the way, but I was so fearful of losing it in the end. But I did. I made the decision to take myself out of society and go to rehab for 28 days, and it was the best thing I ever did.
And you came out, and tell me about that.
I lasted 67 days. I met my missus in there.
You met your missus in rehab.
So at this point, my boy Travis, his mum is waiting for me, I think, to come home, because she kicked me out a year and a half before. She's still single. There's no one else at home with her. She's wondering and worried about where I am. Doesn't know if I'm dead or alive. Doesn't know if I'm clean or using. Doesn't know where I am. And I finally said to her, I'm going to rehab. And I remember she let me see Travis the day before I went in. He was only about 2. And I went round there and I gave him a cuddle and I said, I'm going to rehab. I'm going to get sorted. And I don't know whether or not we were both on the same page, but my understanding of it is that she was expecting me to go to rehab, get clean, come home, and have this kind of happily ever after with Travis, with his sister, with her. And I went to rehab and I met someone who I'm still with, who I've just had a baby with. And I don't think I ever told this story in full the way I'm telling it. It's fucking messy, isn't it? It's traumatic. I don't know how I'm still 409 days clean today, because I've still got a lot of stuff that I need to work through. I've still got a lot of stuff that I want to work through, and I need to, and I want to. Yeah, this program that I'm working is a program for people who want it, not people who need it. And I needed it for a long time, but because I didn't want it, I didn't get it.
You know what your problem was, Travis? Your problem, Harry, was this. You were looking for external validation when really what you needed to achieve was internal confidence.
Yeah.
And you were always looking for someone on the outside to make you feel better.
Yeah, to validate.
When really, it needs to come from within. And until you stop looking at it from a mother or a father on the outside and realize that it's you here on the inside, you with your partner, you with your child, you with your responsibility. And the bottom line is it comes down to you. And you're always looking for the outside. You're always looking for external.
Yeah, I am. I was.
But now, in order to move forward, you have to realize that, you know what? It's time to put closure on that. It's time to move forward and realize that, okay, that was me before I knew what I knew today.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
100%.
But I've got a better question for you.
Okay.
If you look forward into the future, just changing the psychodynamic of this for a moment. If you look forward into the future, let's say a year from now, Harry, just go out a year from now, see your son a year older, a year with your missus, perhaps you're married, because I catch something on one of the things the other day, your videos asking about, are we going to get married? And she said, and then you said, would you ask me? And she said, I caught that the other day. So imagine a year from now where you're at. Imagine seeing yourself a year from now. You have the life you want. You're clean. You're fresh. And imagine turning around and looking back all the way to today. Tell me what's different in your life.
Christ, that's a deep, heavy question. I don't know. I'm just trying to
No. You're already there. Imagine yourself a year already there.
I'm trying to picture it.
Now what's different?
I'm even more proud of who I am. I'm even more proud looking back. And I feel proud today. I got no fucking place. Well, I didn't think I had any place being here with you today. I'm a drug addict. You know, I didn't think this opportunities like this, coming on channels like this, you know, people with your reach, I didn't realise that I'd help as many people as I have in the last 13 and a bit months. And I'm proud of who I am today. So I guess I'd want to be. I guess looking back, I'm in a position where I'm even more proud and I'm even more stable. The thoughts of using have subsided more because I don't think they'll ever go.
What would it take for them to go?
So whilst I was trying all these different methods, one of the people that I come across told me that one day you will be able to drink successfully. One day you might be able to have a couple of cheeky lines and go home.
Oof. Okay.
And I said, right. And the therapist actually...
I'll come back to the answer that in a
please
minute.
do. The counsellor that I had at the time, Scouse guy, I won't name him. I remember being in one of the sessions. I said, look, I'm snorting like a gram a day. He said, have you tried cutting down, Ali? Have you tried doing half a gram instead of a gram? So my brain went, he's just told me to try half a gram. He said, try doing half a gram instead of a gram. So I tried to cut down. That don't work. I've got the disease of addiction. Yeah, one's too many, a thousand's never enough. I took his advice or his comment as a you know, a go get it card. Yeah, that's one of my sayings. Go get it. Let's get it. Go get it. Stay chilly. Yeah, I saw it as like a green light, so I did, and I couldn't control my using, and so yeah, I found a way. My belief now, if you like, and I don't preach, but I believe I've got a disease, an incurable one, that tells me that I haven't got a disease, right? And I believe that if I use today, I'm going to cause harm. So I work a program. It's a daily program, and I'm just trying to better myself through a 12-step program that's helped other people. And I could have took his advice, and I could have tried to keep going to his little groups on a Wednesday afternoon, and then said, you know, started drinking at the football days. And but I tried that, Elliot. When I come out of rehab, 67 days after, my missus Felicity and I, we both met in rehab, both with a drink and drug problem, but not actually a drink and drug problem. Sorry. An inside problem. Yeah, I don't have a drug or alcohol. I've got a me problem, right? That's what I'm using to change the way I feel because I'm not happy. I decided to relapse. I decided to use. I said, I think we should try it, and we did. And that chaos ensued, even fucking worse than what it was before, for another 4.5 years. 4.5 years of which I wasn't in my son's life. 4.5 years of which multiple suicide attempts, multiple hospital intake visits. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, going back to where I started, because I diverse. The way I'm living my life now is working. I don't know where I'll be in a year's time. And if I do get married to Fliss at some point in the next year, we might have a drink at the wedding, but that's not today. And I feel like when he was telling me this advice, this guy over here saying, I still drink. I had a problem with Charlie, yeah. I couldn't stop. And now I go football, we have a couple of pints and go home. I was like, that's fucking confusing, because these lot are saying you can't take anything. You can't smoke, you know, the puff, you can't smoke whatever. Yeah, you can't snort that, you can't drink, you can't gamble. And I was like, I like the idea of that, because what happens if I stick with his? So I didn't take his advice, and what I'm doing now is working, but there is no cure. This is how I see it. Yeah, I don't feel like there's a cure for it. I think I'm going to have this for the rest of my life, and I hope in a year's time I can look back even more proud than I am today, because I am proud today, but also with a slight less of a dis-ease inside of me. That dis-ease that sometimes tells me, go on, Harry, one more time.
Let's go back to your guy who told you that you might be able to have a drink that perhaps you could cut down, that led you to thinking about perhaps you could use. And you asked me a question before we got on here, and you said something about, you asked me, you said, am I free? How did you put it? Let's say it again. Go on, Harry. You asked me, you said to me, are you free of all substances?
That's right. I said, are you in recovery? And then you said, what's recovery? And I said, clean. And you said, what's clean? I said, clean.
and serene from all mind-altering, mood-changing substances. Are you?
No,
What?
no,
Okay,
I am not.
go on.
And no, I don't agree with that.
What?
So-
the word clean being that?
I don't. Okay, so I don't. So my philosophy is going to be against everything that you've ever heard,
Okay.
and I'll explain why. So every method that you have been through. So you went through rehab.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 12 steps.
Yep.
You went through recovery. That's the 12 steps, and you went through the 12-step model. Okay. So let's talk about that for a moment to let people understand the reason why I don't necessarily agree with this and the logic behind it. So firstly, do I drink alcohol? Occasionally, yeah. If I was on holiday and I was out, well, I was on holiday. I was away for 9 weeks working and abroad in Spain.
Can I just stop you? Are you an addict?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
15-year daily.
Okay.
How did you work that one out? So I used the packet every single day for 15 years, whilst appearing on TV, whilst being resident psychologist on ITV, BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, Sky Living, Sky News, while I wrote a book on stop smoking addiction. Now I've written a book on you know what addiction.
Yeah.
So the answer is for 15 years daily.
Okay.
So now let me explain this to you.
My brain's thinking, how can this geezer
Of course.
give me the knowledge he's got so I can do it successfully?
Of course.
That's what my brain's telling me.
Course.
Shows
So
how
let
well
me
I am.
explain, and I'll explain that for you because, first of all, let's take my philosophy. I don't believe there is a one size fits all.
No.
So there's no point in me saying, this is what I did, and I still drink alcohol occasionally, come and drink alcohol occasionally. You have to look at each individual person.
Okay.
So for me, I was always a dry sniffer. Alcohol was never, ever an issue for me. I could leave it, take it, doesn't bother me. And when I do have a drink, which is very occasionally, might be a girly little cocktail because I'm on holiday, like a margarita, I might have one or two, okay? Or maybe 3 over a whole day if I was by the pool and it was a beautiful all-inclusive.
Can I just ask you a quick question?
Yep.
Do you think alcohol is a drug?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you not agree that in order to be fully recovered or in recovering, that you must abstain from all of those?
No.
Do you not believe that alcohol is a gateway? Because for a lot of people
No.
it is it not?
Alcohol, for a percentage of people,
It is.
was a gateway.
So we've got to be careful, have we not? By telling people this. I'm not challenging you. Well, maybe I am
I'll answer
challenging
that.
you.
I'll answer that for you.
Because I'm thinking right now, if this guy can fucking enable me to have a couple of beers and not get mad on the
That's not what I said.
No, but that's how I'm thinking because I've got this disease that kind of tries to...
Then listen carefully.
Okay, yeah, go on.
So listen carefully. What I'm saying is every person is individual. You have to look at an individual basis. I have many patients that alcohol is not an issue for. They have never drank alcohol and used the packet.
Okay.
They're always dry sniffers, usually successful people who run companies or busy or productive, might use during the day, as we were saying, and don't use alcohol with their using of the packet. It's not a gateway for them.
Just quickly, if they did
Yeah,
combine the two together,
yeah.
are they then gone?
Okay.
Or can they come back from that?
Hold on a minute.
So if someone's if someone's a dry sniffer, never used alcohol with it, you think that they can successfully drink or just have a couple and it's fine because that wasn't their issue. But if they did at one time combine the two together, could that then become a problem?
So what you're now talking about is SDLMB, state-dependent learned memory behavior. So you're accessing a psychological state and tying two things together. So if alcohol was clearly the gateway, if they went through years of conditioning of going to the pub, having 4, 5, 6 pints, and then calling it on, you've conditioned yourself. That is an automated cue, a stimuli that when you do X plus Y, you're going to use.
Okay.
The likelihood of that person using is extremely high.
Yes.
That person should not drink alcohol.
Okay.
Even if you want to stop using Charlie, I suggest highly for the first 3 months, alcohol dissipates, no alcohol whatsoever.
Okay.
Now, those people that alcohol was not an issue for someone like me who might drink 2, 3 times a year, 1 or 2 drinks that does not lead to the packet, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to drink.
But
Do you drink tea?
Is this illness not progressive?
Hang on, one question at a time. Do you drink tea?
No, coffee.
Do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
Is that not a mind-altering substance? If I was being technical, the answer is yes.
Not, if you're being technical, yes, but it's not in a sense that it doesn't destroy everything around me and my whole life.
You. What was the word you used?
Me, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it's individually dependent. So there are many people
Yeah.
who don't use alcohol as a gateway and then sniff.
But this
and
is
those
not.
people can drink.
But because let's not forget, right? I was using the Charlie to change the way I felt. That was my coping mechanism.
Sorry, we're using the alcohol to change how you felt.
I wasn't,
How do you know that?
because. So what I'm trying to say is,
No. How did you say? You just said to me, you two mind-altering substance.
yeah,
One
alcohol.
change.
So I'm just saying, if you don't have a problem with alcohol, could someone like for
No,
me,
hang
for
on, answer the
instance,
question.
alcohol-
You said I didn't use alcohol to change my emotions. I used cocaine to change. How do you know?
what I'm thinking is,
How do you know?
I'm not trying to avoid it. I'm just struggling to answer.
And I'll tell you why. So let me fully explain.
Can you not?
Hold on, Chuck.
Could alcohol not become a problem then? Because I never started off with a fucking 8 for gear. Yeah, I started off with a couple of lines, a couple of bumps, little keys, and then it progressed. So what I'm sort of like a little bit like, wow, what's this guy saying? Is I'm open minded. Don't get
Okay,
me wrong.
Then let me
But I'm
finish.
also like
Harry,
the beers could progress.
Harry, let me answer the question, and then you'll have the answer.
Okay.
Wait till I finish.
Okay.
When I put my hand up,
Yeah, go on.
that means I've finished.
All right, go on.
Ready?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Here's the difference. Alcohol is a physical dependency. Okay.
Yes.
What that means is this. Once you become an alcoholic, you have a requirement of the alcohol to function normally.
Yeah.
Without the alcohol, you cannot function normally. You'll get the shakes, you'll get the tremors, and you'll get convulsions. In 1939, because this is what we're talking about, and I'm glad we've come on to this, Bill Wilson
Yeah.
was an alcoholic.
The big book.
The Big Book. Let's tell you the story of the Big Book, Harry, and anyone listening, because this is interesting. In 1939, Bill Wilson wrote the 12 Steps, okay? Now, Bill Wilson lived in a town in America with 500 people with 3 shops when he was born. Remember, okay, in the 1920, there was no internet, no mobile phones, no dealers hanging out on street corners for sure, right? So he was born in a very small town and his father abandoned him and he moved to New York and he became a stockbroker. And he was part of the Oxford Church group, a very, very religious group, okay? And remember, this is at a time in the 1920s when spiritualism and morality were the biggest things to, you have to do the right thing, and they're very godlike. And he went to church, and he was a very religious man, and he found in church the Bible and the 10 Commandments. And he thought, a lot of people go to church and follow the 10 Commandments. And I've started drinking alcohol, and I'm drinking more alcohol than I require, and I'm an alcoholic, and I want to do something about it. So he thinks, as he comes out of church one day and he meets with the Oxford Church group, I'm going to write 12 rules.
Yeah.
That become the Big Book, 12 rules, okay?
Yeah.
So he writes the 12 guidelines for alcohol.
Yes.
He is an alcoholic. Now, remember, alcohol is a physical dependency. And the first thing to do with a physical dependency is to titrate, to lower the amount of alcohol your body is consuming. Okay?
Okay.
Then you give up, you're surrendering yourself, because that's what had to happen in order to titrate your alcohol to something higher. Okay? Makes sense.
Yes.
And what happened was he then went around, printed his big book, and the way that he made money is he went to church and sold his 12-step book. He then met a guy, and we'll call this guy Mr. AA. Mr. AA bumps into Bill Wilson, and he says, I love your book. Can I sell your book? And Bill Wilson says, of course you can sell my book. So Mr. AA goes around the world setting up free groups, because you know what the law of reciprocity is? Do you know what that is, Harry?
No.
The law of reciprocity is if I give you something today, you're going to give me something back that is worth more. I remember when I was a kid once and I was in London and I got stopped by a Hare Krishna, and I was about 17, and he gave me this book, and I said, sorry, no. And in the end, he gave me the book. He said, no, it's a present. In the end, he gave me the book and ended up giving him a $5, way more than the book was worth at that time. That's the law of reciprocity.
Okay.
So Mr. Bill Wilson sets up all these meeting groups all over. Of course, these meeting groups have the book, right?
I can see where this is going.
Wait, slowly, Harry. I haven't got my hand back
I
up
know,
yet.
I know.
And this all goes swimmingly well. There are AA groups around the world. Everything's fine because it's for alcohol. Alcohol requires titration, okay? It is a physical dependency. It requires surrendering. Let's fast forward to 1980. Reagan administration, the war on drugs. You know what happens? They have an outbreak of crack epidemic. They have an outbreak of drugs around the world. And you know what the penal system do? They put people in prison, except what happens? They suddenly find they do not have enough room in prison for people who are over the influence, be it alcohol or be it another substance. So a judge in America in the 1980s has a man come to court and he says, don't really have much room in the prisons. I know, I'll send you on the 12-step program. Bang.
90 meetings, 90
And
days.
he rubber stamped CA, which had only just been opened, with not one single medical research, not one single evidence backing it. What they did is they took AA, alcohol, which is a titration and a requirement to deal with, and they recovered the same book and they called it CA. But let me explain this to you. Now, whereas one is a physical addiction, the other is a psychological hijacking. Let me ask you something, Harry. You used for a long time, right?
did.
Nasal ingestion. If you didn't use for a day, did you get the shakes, the tremors?
No, of course.
If you didn't lose
it's
for a
not
week, did you
physical.
get the shakes and
No,
tremors?
no.
But if you're an alcoholic, that would have happened, correct?
Correct.
You do know that you can get an injection for alcohol that you cannot get for nasal ingestion. You know
Of
what?
course.
You know why? Because metabolism in the liver in a different fashion, and
Yeah.
it makes you sick. That's why it cannot be for nasal ingestion if you know what. So let's get back on track. The judge rubber stamped this,
Yeah.
sent him to a 12 steps. Now it's called CA. Judges all around the world did exactly the same thing, not one single piece of peer-reviewed research. Let me tell you what happens. When you use nasal ingestion of this, it surges dopamine, okay? That dopamine is more than your synaptic cleft can take, which is what I explained to you. It down-regulates your own production of dopamine. Now you're not producing the same quantity of dopamine, the chemical that made you feel good. Let's fast forward this. Now in your everyday life, you don't feel good, and therefore you have a narrow, progressive reduction of the things you do in life. Because you don't enjoy doing the things that no longer bring you pleasure as much, you have more time to use the substance. You use that substance more, you create more connections after work, feeling happy, having an argument, stress, all of these things. Get a promotion, get some money, lose some money, get a bill. All of these stimuli are being attached. Remember this, right? They're all in here. It's psychological. You're no longer producing the dopamine that makes you feel good. Remember that, okay? While that's happening, it is in your prefrontal cortex shrinking your grey matter. Your own ability to say no, you don't want to use. In your prefrontal cortex, the ability to take control of your impulsivity is being shrunk.
Yes.
Your ability to say no is being shrunk, not by alcohol, not by titration, but by a psychological hijacker. Now you don't have any dopamine being produced. Let's fast forward this a year. This is why it's progressive. This is why it's slow. It's why it took its time. Let's fast forward this 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? What happened was this thing that was occasional social is now what you require in order to feel normal.
Yeah.
The things that you used to do to feel good and have fun about no longer are about. And now you're just using it as a functionality. It is a completely different substance than alcoholism and therefore requires a completely different strategy. If the 12 steps were to be effective, do you know how many different things that the 12 steps are used for these days?
No.
Okay, let's list them. Ready?
Go on.
Heroin,
Yeah.
cocaine, methamphetamine, ketamine, anxiety, OCD, porn,
Yeah.
shopping,
Gambling.
anxiety, gambling. So, sorry, you don't even have to be a psychologist to sit there and think, hang on a minute, this thing that was almost 100 years ago, at the same time Freud was giving his depressed patients cocaine as a methodology for treatment, they wrote the 12 steps 100 years ago, before ADHD, before PTSD, before trauma. Now, not one single thing is in place with CA to deal with ADHD, PTSD, trauma. because all of those things have a psychological different way of looking at them. We can pray as much as we like, and let's just step into that, because in the book, God is mentioned 200 times in the big book. That's once every paragraph.
Is it that much?
Yes, it is. I say this on a podcast so people can go and Google and check it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
So tell me, now you understand this, and you understand that it is an actual physical impossibility that the same application can work on a completely different substance. Now, what do you think? Or you're not there yet?
It's not about being there. I think I don't really need to know too much about what it is that I'm doing, because whatever it is that I'm doing seems to be working.
And that's brilliant.
So,
but I was answering your question.
Yeah, you were. No,
alcohol.
you did.
I wasn't answering your question about you, because I started this by saying it's down to an individual basis. There is no one size fits all.
Of course.
The answer is this, Harry. When I deal with my patients, the very first session, that whole session, the whole case history I build, I go into their usage, their frequency, their background, how they were brought up, how they use, when they use, polysubstance use, their anxiety, psychological triggers. I do an ADHD test, a PTSD test, a psychological emotional dysregulation test. And only at that point, with all that information, and then I spend 3 hours collating that information, do I understand what each individual patient, even with the same substance, requires. Because if you think about this, what they're saying is this: one size fits all. Okay, what about the person who uses every weekend compared to the person who uses daily? What about the person, like you said to me, I might go on a binge every 3 weeks for 3 or 4 days in my mum's garage back in the day. That's not the same. You don't require the same treatment for the person who uses weekends, monthly, quarterly. Do you get it?
Having said that, millions of people have got clean through these
I love that.
programs.
Harry, you walk straight in there. Because now let me just tell you this. You made the classic response. You made the classic 12-step response. You said millions of people have got clean. Now, here's my question to you, Harry.
Yeah.
You've got a phone on you. Go Google it right now. I'll wait. And find me one single, because I'm a scientist and a psychologist and I believe in research. I don't just believe in popping things out the sky. Millions of people is not scientific. Show me one piece of scientific or medical or psychological research that is peer-reviewed, in other words, it is checked and authenticated, that shows me that CA has a success rate. Because I'll tell you what that is. Well, I haven't finished.
Go on.
I'll tell you what it is. Volk. That is the source. 5 to 10% have CA. And if you look on their official website, you're going to find it says the same. That means it's a 90% failure rate.
Really?
Yeah. Fact.
Okay. I'm in NA, by the way. Same thing.
I have nothing against it. What I'm saying is, you asked me a direct question. You asked me, they have a philosophy that you have to be free from all mind-altering substance. And what I've just explained to you is, they also have a way of trying to deal with the addiction to nasal ingestion of you know what, in the same way they deal with alcohol, which is a physical dependency. And Harry, let me just say this. This isn't a discussion.
No,
this is a fact.
Yeah, I know.
Because I've written a thesis on this, Harry.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying.
And this is the problem. The problem is people who go and do the 12 steps become so indoctrinated, they don't realise, even when the research is in front of them.
Yeah.
I could take you now and give you research papers.
I've been to one meeting a week for the last year, 13 months, just over. And early days, when I found the fellowships 11 years ago, I tried, and I could see people getting clean, and I thought, I want a bit of that. That's working for them.
Hang on a minute. Sorry, just go back 1 sec. I can see people getting clean. Let me just tell you this. Do you know how many sponsors I currently have as patients? Currently. 2025, we're in what? September now?
Yeah,
September. Currently, how many patients do I have that are actual sponsors?
In the fellowships?
In the
fellowships. I don't know how many patients you have.
Right now, 172.
I don't know, maybe 15% of them?
It's not actually less than that, but it's around about 10%.
10% of them.
Do you not think 17 people who are actually sponsoring other people in the fellowships, who are actually coming to see me because they have an addiction to nasal injection? Good luck to them. I'm pleased for them. But do you not think that when you say there are loads of people I saw get clean, Sorry, how? How do you know that?
So I saw.
What is your defining evidence?
Okay, here's a question.
And clean is a year, by the way.
How about someone seeing me? You come to a meeting tonight.
Yep.
I'm at the top of the table and
Yep.
I share my story.
Yep.
Is that not seeing someone get clean?
No, that's me seeing you tell me that you're clean.
Turning my whole life around, getting my kids back,
Yep.
having a baby in
And
recovery.
I said to you, clean is being 12 months clean, correct? And you are over 12 months clean,
I
correct?
am now.
Yes.
But I still have. I believe I couldn't successfully do anything because this is what I've been taught. This is only what I've been taught.
1 minute.
But like I said, I'm
You just
open-minded.
said, you're 1 year clean. And I said to you, how do you know? And you said by people getting up and talking.
Telling
correct?
their
Okay.
sharing their
I
experience.
agree with
hope.
you.
Yeah.
And that is why I didn't say to you it's a 100% failure rate.
No.
I said it is a 90%
Yeah.
failure rate. 5 to 10% have to be successful. And also, let's just remember this, Harry. That person that you saw get up and speak at a meeting, do you see him in a week's time, in a month's time, in 2 months' time? Because I've had people who have been through the fellowship on my podcast before, who have just been across the press, and I'm not going to run them down, who keep pumping this out but keep relapsing. Because the fellowship is all about relapsing because it has a 90% success rate, a 90% failure rate.
Failure rate.
Failure.
Yeah, they told me that in Rehab when I was in there. They said, it's 24 of you in the room.
Here's my question
Only
to you.
only 2 or 3 of you are going to get there. Only 2 or 3 of you are going to stay clean. And I remember looking around the room thinking, well, I ain't going to relapse because I'm full of ego. I thought I'd stay clean anyway. There was the people that I was pointing out saying he's going to fail, he's going to fail, he's going to relapse. They all stay clean, believe it or not. But I know it's. But then I'm thinking, how the fuck can these people charge 10, 15, 20 grand for 28 days if the failure rate is so high?
Because
How does that make sense?
I'll tell you how it makes
And,
sense.
and as much as what you're saying is working, the 170 people that you've got, or whatever it is, I'm sure they're fucking doing, they're progressing and they're getting what they feel like they need to get because you're very knowledgeable and you're very fucking good at what you do.
I also do research.
But you do, and I know that these
And I also do a
fellowships
clinical
don't.
trial.
These are very old school rules. It's a 12-step program. It probably does come from a geezer trying to sell a book.
It was
but-
95 years ago.
But you're only one person,
Correct.
I guess. And
Correct.
if there was loads of you
Correct.
doing these things, it'd be amazing.
Absolutely. You are
Your
hitting the nail
success
on
rate
the head.
would be through the fucking roof
You've
because
hit
your
the nail
success
on the
rate
head.
is far, far superior
Correct.
than just 10% of what you get
I
in
have
the
an
fellowship.
87% success rate
Wow.
based on 300 people followed up
Fuck,
for a year.
That's incredible.
That's a proper trial.
That is incredible. And you're very knowledgeable and you know your stuff. And I'm not here to try to say, but still NA. Listen, NA is
Before
what
you
it's
say
what,
what you say, let me ask you a question.
it's what works for
Whoa,
you.
whoa. Let me ask you a question.
Go on.
Okay. A lot of people who have spoken to me about this, and I've had lots of debates about this, will say to me, yes, but it's better than nothing, El.
Is it not?
Whoa, that's where you were going. That's why
I
I
was
stopped
going.
you.
Yeah,
I know
go on.
that's where you were going because I do
This
this
guy.
every day and I've done this for 30 years. And I see at least 10 patients every single day, Monday to Friday. That's 50 for one thing and one thing only. So let's remember that, right?
Okay.
I knew where you were going because let me ask you this. Something that has a 90 to 95% failure rate, a 5 to 10% success rate, right? 90 to 95%. You said, isn't it better than anything? So would you go and buy a car?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Harry, let me answer. Would you buy a car that had a 90 to 95% breakdown rate?
No, of course
Why
I
not,
wouldn't.
Harry?
Because it's not going to last.
So
is it?
that's my answer to your question. And when people go, it's worked for millions of people, let's put it into context. I am all for the 12 steps
Yeah.
for AA. It's a great recipe for alcohol.
Okay.
It is a titration of alcoholism. It is a lowering of the dose. It is getting to spirituality. It is giving to your surrender. They're great for alcohol, but it's not a one thing fits
Fits
every
all.
substance,
Absolutely
fits
not.
everybody. and
Absolutely
it does
not.
not. And when people turn around and say, yes, but it works for millions of people. No.
I'll take my
The
comment
peer
back.
research is
It does
5
yeah,
to
yeah,
10% success rate. It's a 90 to
Okay.
95% failure rate.
You're
Let's
right.
put that on the table. And also, you only went once a week. I have people that end up going 4 or 5
I
times.
know,
a
and I
week for
did.
it. And what I say is, haven't you replaced one addictive habit for another?
Correct.
And then they go home and use when they leave.
You know,
Do you know what the rate of people who leave CA and
It's-
use that night is?
don't know percentages
62%,
of
according to Professor Dobbs in his book.
people go to a meeting and use after.
Yeah, according to him. I don't know how he got the research, and I don't know.
I'm eating my words. I take back what I said. I say that lightly. It's worked for millions of people. It's worked for a few people, and I've seen a few people
That's better.
do it and get clean. And my sponsor's 20 years clean, and he was 10 years clean when I first showed up, and he still goes to 1 or 2 meetings a week.
He sounds old.
He's not. He's quite young actually.
He's 20 years clean and 10 years clean.
No, he's 20 years clean. He was 10 years when I met him.
Oh, I see.
So 10 years ago
Okay,
when I
was
first
his
come
name.
round. He's my sponsor now. A very good friend of mine, Simon. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Simon.
Simon Edwards. He's a really, really knowledgeable guy. He has taken me through these steps. I'm only on step 2. Listen, I'm whatever. I don't want
He's
to.
not knowledgeable enough to tell you how cocaine works.
He's just showing me what someone showed for him that's kept him 20 years clean.
I love that.
Can I
Stop,
just-
stop,
no,
stop,
can I-
stop.
can
No,
I-
no, no, no.
Come on,
Harry,
Come
you
on.
just hit the nail on the head again.
Yes.
You just said, he's just showed me what worked for him. Now, let's go back to what I said.
I'm different. I'm different.
What I said was this.
What?
You get people who use daily.
Yeah.
You get people who use weekend. You get people who use binge. And someone's showing you what worked for them,
Might not
you're
work-
quite right,
might not work
is
for
what
me.
worked for them based on their upbringing, their
Yeah.
environment,
Yeah, okay.
their ADHD, their PTSD, their trauma, their lifestyle, their values, their beliefs, their experiences, their financial capacity, their upbringing. Should I carry on?
No.
Right. So
I
you
get it. I
understand
do.
that every part of that has to be taken into account when you deal with someone to get an effective response. That's why I spend 3 hours doing a case history on every single person. That's why what you're talking about is a scattergun approach. If I take a machine gun and I fire it scattergun, I'm going to hit 1 or 2 things in the way.
Mm.
You're also going to miss a hell of a lot of targets. Whereas if you have a laser,
Mm.
you can repeat the laser on every single target. Anyway, let's carry on, Harry.
No, it's good. It's really very, very, very beneficial what you're saying, and I completely understand. And I'm neither disagreeing nor agreeing. I agree with what you're saying 100%. But what I'm also thinking is, you can't save the world as one person.
Absolutely, I cannot.
You are one of the most knowledgeable people about this whole thing, and I'd love to have come across you sooner. And had my dad have fucking Googled you and come up with you, years ago, instead of this scouse geezer that told me to snort half a gram instead of a gram tomorrow, yeah.
And that's
Things-
the other thing.
Things might have been different.
Can I pick up on that, what he just said to you? Think about this, right? Dopamine, your brain is neuroplasticity. Your brain can remold itself, okay? It can rewire itself.
Mm.
Now, once you stop using, your dopamine will start to re-regulate itself, okay?
Okay.
And it takes around about 3 months before dopamine begins to improve
Yeah.
the amounts being released. Then 6 months, this isn't in a 3 to 6 months, but 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 14 months, you're back to full dopamine capacity
Yeah.
based upon what you were prior, right? If you use during that period of time, right, let's say you've gone 3 months clean and you're now producing a level of dopamine above and beyond what you were doing 3 months ago, and you go all the way back to the beginning,
Yeah.
your dopamine isn't produced again.
Okay. Does it stop it?
understand
It
that?
stunts it straight away, does it?
Correct.
Okay.
It's down-regulated your receptors immediately.
Yeah, I don't want that.
That's one of the reasons why you've got this far. That's one of the reasons why you're going to keep going. And one of the best things you've got going for you, Harry, is accountability.
Mm.
And the reason that I like to share this information on this podcast and other things is because I don't know anybody who is specific to the one addiction that I deal with. There are many people who deal with addictions.
Mm.
The problem is
Well, that's what
there's a
NA
lot of misunderstanding because,
that's what NA does.
of course,
They look
and-
at the whole of
that's what
not
they
just
do.
individual substances.
And
They look
that's-
at the
that's-
disease of addiction.
That's where it's fault.
Mm.
That's where it's fault.
I-
That's fine on
I get
alcohol.
what you're saying, but now I'm thinking, what am I doing? Fucking about with NA?
Well,
Because
you're
I'm very easily led and I'm open-minded. Like I say, now I believe everything you've told me
Well, good.
because it's facts.
It is facts.
Now I'm thinking, well, I might as well fuck my sponsor off or fuck NA off now. Had I not? I'd start seeing you.
Well, you can't see me. I'm fully birds.
Well, I feel lucky now I've had this fucking chance to talk to you because I've learned more in this than I have. I just wish that people were more knowledgeable, and that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? Is get the word out there.
Is what it's about. And
Yeah.
in fact,
Mm.
I'm not really putting down the fellowships. What I'm saying is I think there's a better way. And what I would like to do eventually, and this wasn't about me, but I'm going to bring it up, is
Yeah.
give my time for free because in the next 5 years I intend to retire.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is give my time to somewhere in CA and help tweak what they're doing to
Yeah.
get a better system.
That
Because
would
I
be
do all
ideal.
these podcasts and I don't monetize a single one of my channels. None of this is I get paid for.
Really?
All of this I pay out my own money because I want to put something back.
And you saying, go back then, Bill didn't want that.
Say again?
Bill, when he wrote this book and started to sell it,
Yep.
he wasn't one of the people like you that just wanted to do it because he cared about people.
I don't know that. That I don't know. I
But it
wasn't around.
sounds like he was trying to flog
But I
a book.
will tell you this
But
one.
I-
Did you know this?
It makes sense now though, because in meetings still now, you go to a meeting tonight, they say the big book's a tenner if you want to buy it.
Funny that.
I'm thinking, where's that going?
But hang on a minute.
What's area
But
mean?
hang on a minute. You do know what happened to Bill, don't you?
Yeah,
What happened to Bill?
he relapsed and he died.
Before Bill died, everyone dies. Bill moved to, what do you think? He changed from his treatment of the 12 steps and started using psychedelics.
Mm.
Only a couple of years after, because he didn't find it was very effective. And he used LSD,
Mm.
and he used mushrooms, and he used other things like this. So where was he? What
So
was
that-
the word you used?
that-
Substance clean.
Yeah, clean,
Mm.
sober, sobriety.
But
recovery.
Harry, let's run round now.
This
So
is
you're
good.
409 days clean,
From the stuff that I used to do that I used to affect my life in a negative way.
and that's brilliant.
Thank you.
And then you launched Harry's Ice Bath. Let's go on
Ice
to
Bath Harry.
Sorry,
Ice Bath
Ice
Harry.
Bath Harry. Come on.
So 409 days ago, yeah, rehab, come out, relapsed. 4.5 years has carried on, and the using there was, I don't need to tell you, it was bad. Like I say, in and out of mental institutions. I nearly got sectioned. I ended up in hospital a couple of times. Tried to take my own life. I was just being picked up by ambulances. My heart was on its last legs, and I was still wanting to put more gear up my nose. And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of living like an animal, and I wanted something to change. And as I was doing my research, I found a little bit about what you mentioned earlier. Yeah, the receptors getting blocked and not firing off the dopamine like it should, which I'm fucking lacking anyway because of my ADHD. which is
Dopamine prevention reuptake.
is that what it's called? Okay. And I had heard that ice cold exposure, cold water exposure, getting in ice cold water does set off the dopamine receptors. It does adjust some of the stuff in your brain and your body. It makes you feel good. Other people have tried it and it's worked for them. I thought if it's worked for them, why don't I give it a go? And at the time, I was on the bones of my ass. I was on benefits. I was getting paid every month, spending all my money on drugs and having to borrow for the rest of the month to get by. Borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And I said I want to buy an ice bath. But at the time, if I had 80 quid in my pocket, I was just going to buy another couple of grams or another couple of halves of you know what. So I sent an email out to a bunch of brands and I got a reply from one brand. I sent an email out which said something along the lines of, my name's Harry, I'm a drug addict. I want to get clean and I want an ice bath. And I'm asking if you send me one for free so that I can start taking an ice bath every day. And in exchange, what I'll do is I'll do a few videos on my social media platforms. And I sent it out to about 4 or 5 companies. And a day later, I got a message back from a guy called Mike at Polar Recovery. And he said, hi, Harry. Happy to send you a tub for free. Good luck with the videos. And I started my journey. Can I mention other platforms on here? Other social medias? No? So I started my platform. I started on one of the platforms.
Well, we're going to put links below anyway.
Okay, all the links, yeah. I started one of the platforms and I very quickly got traction. I posted my first video 410 days ago because I'm a day in front now, yeah? So what you see today goes out tomorrow. Give me a little bit of breathing room. I love what I do, and I don't. As much as I moan, I do really love what I've created in this last year, right? So, yeah, tub arrives. I set it up in my garden. I said I'm going to take an ice bath tomorrow, and I'm going to film it because now I've got a fucking obligation because this geezer sent me a tub for like 70 quid. Yeah, I said I'd do a couple of videos. So I'm going to. So I did, and the first video did quite well. A few people said, "Welcome, you know, I'm going to follow you to watch your journey." And then I got up, did day 2. 6 in the morning, and you've only got to go back on my channel and have a look. I was very unwell. I looked very unwell. If you can pop a picture up on this.
Yeah, there'll be pictures.
Do put a picture up of me on day 1. I'm gaunt. And the saddest part is I thought I looked well. Anyway, I carried on and I just disciplined myself. And I got up and I took an ice bath and I filmed it and I edited it and it was a bit shit and I put it on the internet. And within 10 days... within 16 days, we hit 10,000 followers. And I haven't stopped. And over the last 409 days, I've built a community of people who have followed in my footsteps, who have supported my journey, and who really enjoy watching me be transparent and honest and open and vulnerable. Yeah, it takes a real man to surrender. It takes a real man to get emotional and vulnerable. And I come out and I wear my heart on my sleeve. And yes, it's more susceptible to being broken, but I'm true to myself, and I feel like I'm being transparent. There's no smoke and mirrors. What you see is what you get with me. Yeah, I literally come out in the garden and I say, "Hi, I'm Harry, and today I'm 409 days clean," and I feel all right today. I'm gonna get in the ice bath. I get in, dopamine goes off. I feel fucking great. I get out. I feel better. I crack on with the day, and I have a productive day. And I try one day at a time, not to hurt anyone. Hi, I'm Harry.
What did you say?
Hi, I'm Harry, and I'm an addict. Hi, I'm Harry, and I'm an addict.
That's what you said.
What did I say? Hi, I'm Harry, and today I'm 409 days clean. I did.
What you said was this. Say it again.
Hi, I'm Harry, and today I'm 409 days clean.
That's what you said. Now, you asked me something earlier on, and I'm going to add to that.
Okay.
Why do I have a problem with the 12 steps?
Mm.
At the meeting, what do you say? Because that's not what you say at the meeting.
No, I say, hi, I'm Harry, and I'm an addict.
Thank you.
And then I do.
Whoop,
quick,
whoop,
I-
whoop, 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 whoop. That's what you say.
Mm.
And what you're doing is you're re-embedding the fact you're an addict in your head. What you say on screen is, hi, I'm Harry, and I'm 300 days clean. Hi, I'm Harry, and 200 days clean. Hi, that's what you say. And psychologically, you're sowing a seed in your brain to an embedded suggestion, because what you say is, hi, I'm an addict.
I'm reaffirming. But
Thank
but
you.
being an addict, is that a bad thing? What's wrong with telling myself I'm an addict?
Because that means that you have no choice. You have no option.
No, but I
Because
do.
You're surrendering yourself.
I'm not. I'm in control. I don't.
Sorry, does it not say surrender yourself?
It does if
Thank
you're.
you. That's the very first thing it says.
Okay.
Do you get my point?
I do. I
Do
do.
you
I do.
understand?
For
The
years.
difference is
for-
it was built for alcohol, not for cocaine.
No, it wasn't. You're right. It was alcohol, and then the NA, and then the CA, and then the SA, and the GA all stemmed off the back of that. I understand that. Years ago, when I was having the therapy that, for whatever reason, didn't work back then, one of the people that I was speaking to, I think it might have been CBT, told me, you're not an addict. You got to
Okay.
drop that, like you just did then.
That's not. I didn't say you're not an addict.
No,
I said
no,
don't re-embed
Don't
it.
re-embed it.
There's
No.
a difference.
So over this journey that I've been on over the last 11 years, since trying to discover who I am and what makes me tick, I've had a bit of ambivalence. Bit of this pull me, push me, yeah? 1 minute I'm thinking, this guy says I can do a little bit. These lot say they can't.
No, you can't do a little bit. I've just explained to you.
Yes.
that You've
All
shut
these
down your dopamine.
I had one guy who told me, you're not an addict.
Yeah,
you
but that
used to be an
didn't
addict.
show you.
He didn't know, not what you've done and how you have today, which I'm fucking grateful for. But over this journey, I've kind of gone this way, and I'm not I'm not telling everyone go to NA, go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I'm saying, look, if sticking fucking Rubik's cubes up your ass keeps you clean, stick as many as you can up there. Yeah, what works for me? Some people say I'll tell you, I'm not going to name him, but my old sponsor commented on one of my videos a little while ago and said, ice baths won't keep you clean, Harry.
Oh, he's wrong. Shall I tell you why? Shall I tell you why it's going to keep you clean, Harry?
Get to the meeting.
Because you have accountability.
Get to the meeting, and I thought, is this fucking geezer in the fellowship? If he is, why is he saying that? What's working for me is working for me. It's a different, and I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see it. Not every person, no single person is the same. Everyone needs like a tailored plan. But how do you do that in the mass?
You can't.
You know, I'm doing a good job of what I'm
can't.
doing online.
can't.
I'm showing people.
The
that-
answer to the question is this, Harry.
Go on.
How do you do that to the mass? You cannot. You cannot. I can only see one person at a time to
Yeah.
individualize something. Do you get it?
Yeah, I do.
And that's why it's an appeal, because this is a one-stop shop, but it doesn't work. My definition of addiction is this. Addiction. Oh, I've got to think about it. Addiction is a compulsion, an obsession to a substance or a behavior that seems to feel like it gives you a temporary relief that creates a negative consequence. That would give you my definition of addiction. So what I want is, and there are many definitions of addiction, and I'm not going to say one's right or wrong. What I want to see is this. The competition is this. In the YouTube comments, make up your own definition of addiction. It can be clever, it can be funny, it can be whatever you want. And then what I'm going to do is, when this is released, Harry and I are going to chat together.
Yeah.
We're going to decide which one was the best on whatever grounds that may be. Yeah. Harry's going to send you the large ice bath, and I'm going to pay Harry for the large ice bath.
Love that. Love that.
You look good?
Yeah. That was a good one.
You like that?
Get commenting.
Okay. So, Harry, listen.
Before we wrap
yeah,
up,
sure,
I just
go
want
on.
to say, because I didn't mention it, I didn't go into it, I got a little bit emotional earlier. I'm not talking to my mum at the moment
Yes, we did touch
because
on that.
she's got her own issues and her own trauma that she's not dealing with. And I've said to her, I can't be a part of your life at the moment while you're behaving the way you're behaving. I'm doing a lot of work on myself, and this is a two-way street. And I'm doing a lot of work on myself over here, and you're not doing anything to hold yourself accountable. You're taking responsibility. And I said, I can't have that toxic, stuff in my life. So I've had to cut her out. I do still live in her house now, by the way. Travis's mum, and they moved out, and then I moved back in with Felicity, my partner. We've got a beautiful daughter called Billy. And I'm sure if it stays up for years and years, I'm sure one day she'll watch it. So hello, Billy. Hello, Felicity. Felicity also relapsed when we come out of rehab, and we both got clean on the 21st of July. So Felicity and I are both 409 days clean today. And I just want to say that I am incredibly proud of you, babe. And long may it continue. Whatever we do and however we do it, we're going to do it because, yeah.
Harry,
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming clean with me.
Thank you, Elliot.